Oops. Wait.
Or-
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. My question is, will people be able to ask questions? Because
I will. Yeah, they will be able to ask questions. Our cohort can ask us questions on a Telegram chat that I will then read out to you, or they can comment them, and then we'll be able to see those too.
Cool.
Give me 1 second to share the link. Also, hi everyone who's joining in. I see we're already at 14 people. And I know we're gonna hit quite a big number by the end of the day.
How big are we going, Michelle?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, we always have like hundreds of views by the end of any stream that we do, so I think like that's always a given. But with our cohort being added, I'm pretty sure it's gonna.
What record do we need to beat today?
I don't want to be competitive, but you know what? I'm like, I feel like if we hit like 300 to 400, I'll be pretty pleased. And then if we cross a lot more, then that's like we're just hitting a very different.
Everyone that's seeing this, can you share this to your top 3 close friends to make Michelle really happy?
Yeah, I'm so excited we're finally doing this, by the way. We host so many live streams. I think a lot of people actually thought that we're doing a series, but we were doing all the series with our Epoch participants who are also creators. So I had a bunch of people be like, why didn't you invite me? And I said, it was literally just the Epoch. I know it feels like we're doing a lot, but it's always related to something we've got going on at Octant. And I see Vanna saying Valentine's saying we're going to hit 300. Viju says we're going to hit 50,000. I love the optimism. I'm seeing a lot of our creators already joining in, so this is incredible. And then for anyone who's from our creator program, again, when you have questions, and we'll have spaces for those too, please add them to the Telegram chat or to the broadcast reply so that we can bring that question up and we can, we can address it. But anyway, for today, super, super excited to introduce a couple of things, actually. We are more than halfway through with our creator program. For those of you who don't know, we launched on October 24th, and we have had what I would say is it's been a very ambitious plan. We put together this 2-week creator program, not knowing what we kind of knew what would go into it, but I don't think the creators knew how intense it was going to be. And I think once we went live, everyone's like, oh shit, like this is real and this is intense and we are actually growing. So it's been different phases of realizing that, and then seeing the growth with every participant and every creator has been so cool, because we just sort of see the leveling up even from day to day. We've had sessions from different ecosystems. We had a few speakers from the Ethereum Foundation giving their perspective. We had Smokey or Nick from Polygon giving his perspective as a creator lead and being a creator himself. We had some really great sessions. We had one with Maggie on how to close deals and grow as a creator and as a brand. We had a session with Naruto from Avail talking about how he approaches Twitter. And so every session has been focused on a different aspect. We had Evan, who is from Rise Up Media, talking about TikTok growth. And the next few days are going to be we're going to have David from Joke Race. We're going to have a bunch of other people coming in too, and other ecosystems as well, sharing their perspective on what they look for when they work with projects, and then how individuals because every person has their own sort of flavor and approach to how they do things. And so our goal is not to say this is the right thing to do or this is what you have to do. It's just this is how different approaches are, and this is what can sort of maybe help you get ahead. And so every session's been followed with a bunch of tasks which are related to the session. So we break down those sessions and create like a framework that each creator can follow. And that's why we've been seeing a lot of content, because the whole goal of the program is by the end of these 2 weeks, we would love to see creators who have deals closed or are in the process of that, who are able to get better grants because they've learned something tangible and practical, and who are seeing an actual growth in their content because they've now changed an approach and are heavily experimenting. So with that, super excited to introduce our speaker today, Emily, who is the CMO of Hype. Emily is fantastic and has obviously worked with some of the biggest names in this industry, has grown Hype to become one of the most recognizable brands, and I would say has done one of the best roles of also breaking down what's happening in the industry from a trend perspective, from being one of the most forward-thinking industry leaders. And I always have something to learn whenever you host one of your live streams or anytime you share anything. So it is such an honor, Emily. Thank you for joining us and for the session with our creators. And we're actually making accessible to everybody with this live stream.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the intro. I'm really excited to go over this. It's a brand new deck, and I've never really put some of these thoughts on a paper. So all 50,000 people who are watching this is the first time you'll ever see these. And also, I didn't realize that you had such a star lineup. I think if you're a content creator and you've been watching this, being able to summarize all the learning so far is a great place to start making content. Today, I'm going to go over working with brands as someone who has looked for KOLs or content creators. You know, I work at Hype, we're a marketing agency. So we're constantly finding new ways to bridge creators to brands. And I'll kind of go through the why, the how, and if you are a creator, some key tips. So let me pull this up. Just a little bit about me. This is my Twitter. I built my personal brand about 1.5 years ago. This was actually an extension of how do I make Hype more visible. And if you go to my highlights, you'll see a lot of my content around crypto marketing and just marketing insights from most of my career. I'm the CMO at Hype. We're a full service crypto marketing agency. My background has always been in marketing. So before coming into crypto marketing, I worked at 2 other Web2 agencies, a lot of e-commerce for consumer product goods, SaaS products, fintech apps. At Hype, we have over 100 people and we've worked with 250 projects. There's a lot of different logos down here. So definitely have seen the landscape change and I guess evolve. I would say that I've been at Hype this long because crypto is so fun and things move so fast here. And I've worked with both crypto content creators as well as sourced influencers for Web2 e-commerce brands. By the way, we're currently looking for content creators on TikTok. So if you are a short form video creator, please DM me on X because we are actively looking for creators right now. So today I'm going to cover why work with brands, what brands are looking for, how to make it happen, some key tips, and at the end there's a Q&A. So if you have any questions, there will be space to hopefully get them answered. I will try my best to answer them. Okay, so you're a creator. Why should you work with brands? And I guess this seems like a common, easy question, but when I really distilled it down, you know, working with brands actually has a benefit to you as well, outside of just monetization. So working with brands allows you to show your domain expertise, your experience and insights. And this actually allows you to grow your audience. So growing your audience, because usually you are going to get shared by these brands and the people that work at these brands. They'll typically share and repost. It also helps with content planning. I don't know about some other content creators, but I sometimes get some anxiety of missing too many days on X because I feel like it hurts the algorithm. And if you're posting content about projects in the space, or if you have a brand deal, that actually fills your slot for that day. You also get to try new products and learn about new products in the space. I think the space is constantly moving, so there's never-ending things to learn. And even better if you can learn about them and create content out of it and build your audience. And of course, it is monetizable, and that allows you to continue to create content. It opens you up to a lot of opportunities. I've seen content creators get flown out to different events and travel the world, which is pretty cool as well. So what do brands want? I think this is probably a question a lot of you are wondering. This is just a meme I have on this. There's actually multiple things that they want. And it actually depends on what the brand is. I can tell you from a marketing perspective, let's say you're a trading app. If you are like a centralized exchange, a DEX, or if you have some type of you're just a swaps protocol, they're usually looking for trading volume, wallet connects, signups. If you're a DeFi protocol, they're looking for LPs, increase in TVL, wallet connects, and on-chain activity. That could be swaps, borrow, lending. If it's like a mainnet or testnet launch, they're looking for volumes and wallets bridging over TVL, amount staked, and then actual app usage in their ecosystem. if you're a neobank or a crypto card, or even like a fintech app on crypto rails, let's say like FOMO or Moonshot, they're looking for app downloads, signups, KYC, deposits, product usage. And if it's just like a campaign is kind of an arbitrary term here, but that could be like a deposit campaign or crowd funding campaign or NFT mint, whatever that campaign is, there is like an end goal that they're looking for. So when brands are looking for content creators, they're looking for some type of funnel activity that comes down to one or multiple of these actions. And I think this is important to distinguish because let's say you're a content creator. If you hyper focus on, you want to talk about trading, you're going to obviously attract more trading apps. If you really love DeFi or you love a certain ecosystem or chain or product and you focus your content on that, you're going to attract products and protocols in that category. So really reverse engineering what is a brand or product's main goal to your content will be key in your success if you're looking to actually get brand deals. This looks really, really complicated and convoluted, but this is one of the first posts I made maybe 2 years ago that helped my own profile get a lot of reach. And it's pretty crazy because I had to change a lot in it because things like Crew 3 don't even exist anymore. Or yeah, there's a few other names that was on here that I had to remove. But ultimately, there's a funnel, right? And really, when brands are looking at KOLs or content creators, it's because they want to essentially get top of funnel to then get people to participate in a campaign or sign up and ultimately use their product or bridge funds over, one of those things. So being a content creator is positioning yourself to help be the distributor of whatever message that protocol, brand, or company wants you to do. And I call this narrative proliferation, which specifically in crypto and crypto marketing, I know that we're expanding to other channels, but if we purely look at CT or crypto Twitter or X, I guess, there's constantly new narratives and metas that are being born and dying. And by getting more people to talk about you and own your own narrative and meta makes you as a brand more alive. So when brands are looking for creatives, they're actually looking for creators to talk about them, to both spread the word and get more people, create this flywheel effect to ultimately drive more users down this funnel. If you want, I will pause here. If you want to take a screenshot and look at this later, I will probably repost this because it's just so interesting to look at this relative to how much things have changed. Even Discord, I don't know about you, Michelle, but I haven't joined the Discord in, I don't know, over a year. And Discord was so important.
The last time I joined, the last time I went on Discord is when Taylor Swift was about to drop her album, and I was part of Swiftie Discord groups, and so that's where all the Swifties convene, and that is why I went onto Discord. But everything else, I mean, we have our Octon Discord where we have a hackathon, so that's the other part. But have not joined any new communities or have been excited by any. Yeah, it just feels like people aren't around as much. And I think certain communities have been a little bit different. Like I know we have rituals we've created, which makes sure people do show up. And, we've kind of built that close bond, but most communities haven't been able to do that. And I think it just feels very lazily done a lot of times. And I think that's maybe also why like the space has changed. It feels like Discords were the it thing. Now it's more so Telegram.
Yeah, agreed. I think, Discord still plays a part. It's just I've seen it in way less frequency. One other thing to add here, which I'll get into a little bit later, is depending on the trust and credibility you have with your own audience, a brand might work with you because you yourself might be able to help users skip these steps and go straight to the end result. So a really common example is with some of these really big trading KOLs, where they've built legitimacy, credibility in their trades, they can just drop an affiliate link to a perp dex or an exchange. And that is going to direct a user directly to signing up versus just, hey, check out this perp dex. So that's something that brands are considering is how do we get this end goal here and who are the content creators we should outreach to do that? Okay, so working with brands, really starts with how you position your own. And we're going to cover that in this section. So when a brand is working with you, they're actually trying to tap into your audience. And you have a relationship with your audience, which is built off of trust. So you're essentially lending the trust that you have built with your audience to these brands that you work with. And we'll talk about how that trust is built. But I found it really interesting when I looked at some influencer research. There's some data and research that is out there on, do consumers have trust in influencers? And one of the highlights is 69% of consumers trust influencer recommendations compared to 45% who trust celebrity endorsements. I saw this in my own career in Web 2 before I moved over to crypto, where back then I remember working with massive celebrities like, say, the Kardashians, and giving them a massive sum of money to just push your product. It worked in the very beginning, but the more and more you did it, there was diminishing returns. And that's because over time, that authenticity is eroded. And then we saw kind of the rise of micro influencers. But when we isolate crypto as a whole, one, the crypto audience is really small. So as a content creator, you need to find ways to stand out against other content creators, which we'll touch on. But there is some type of intrinsic feeling that people have, whether it's in crypto or not in crypto, on, do I trust this person? And some of the results from these surveys, which, by the way, these numbers could be completely different from crypto, but I think on a basic human psychology level, it will transfer over. So things like insights into their personal life, when they interact with followers, when it's coming from an influencer who looks like me, when they provide an unbiased review of a product or service. A lot of this just goes back to people trust others who are relatable and authentic and genuine. So when you're thinking about how to position yourself, you need to make sure that you are reflecting who you are as a person. What erodes your trust in an influencer? Too many sponsored posts, using stereotypical influencer phrases, photos that look too edited, politicized content, promoting too many similar products. This one I want to call out specifically for crypto because, I think InfoFi started this trend a bit, but sometimes you go on pages and they're talking about 20 different projects and they're talking about them in positive light all the time. And if you're just constantly positive, I'm sure that's great for your mental health. But it doesn't necessarily reflect like critical reasoning or that you have an opinion.
I think one more thing here is also just, I think, don't be a yapper. I think that's something, I don't know who I think it was Nick from Polygon who was like, don't be a yapper. You don't want to be known as specifically being a Kaido influencer. Like that does not work with projects. So probably just adding that here
if
too.
You have yapper in your bio, remove that right now. And I hope I can curse, but I just love this word art GIF.
Yeah, totally.
It really comes down to have an opinion. And that opinion should not always be positive because there are a lot of things that are broken and wrong in this space, and talk about it if you feel that way. And that also builds trust and credibility. So it really comes down to authenticity, relatability, and domain expertise. This last one I think is super, super important to drill in in crypto, because crypto is a very financialized space. So a lot of people are here for some form of incentive. And when they're looking for people to trust, they're looking for people to trust so they can possibly make some money. So if you're purely just going off of vibes, it may work to an extent, but if you want to get to the next level, you need to combine your authenticity, relatability with some domain expertise. I really want to push that because I'm seeing more and more creators, especially in the last year, doing more video. And I really think the domain expertise is what will set you apart. One thing to mention as well is reach. So that like number you see on the bottom right of your X posts, reach and impressions, it does not actually equate to trust or credibility. These are stats from my own X profile last year when, this is the wrong image, but I went viral. I had a post that had 3 million views, and it was a post that had nothing to do with crypto. And I meant to put the photo of impressions relative to followers, because you'll see that I had a massive spike of impressions, but no followers that day, relative to other days that I had a lot more followers. But what I want to portray in this is that you could optimize for just impressions, and you could do that by rage baiting, or I don't know, thirst trapping, or I'm sure there's other ways, inciting emotions in other people, but it doesn't always equate to trust or credibility. And that means that you're not actually building your brand. You might get like one post that goes viral, but it does take consistency. And it really goes back to these 3 pillars to build a brand. Okay, so key tips on content creation. What do you make content about and why? I think really going through a self-discovery process on why you make the content you do, what you're curious about, will allow you to understand what you're naturally tuned into. Like I said, there's so many things to constantly learn. So even me, I've been in this space full-time, working in this space the last 4 years, but I learned about Bitcoin in 2013, and I'm still learning about things. So if you're really drawn to DeFi, there's so many rabbit holes to go down there. What products, chains, and ecosystems do you use and why? Another question to ask yourself. What are your criticisms? How do you find things could be improved? Maybe share that with the team and share it publicly. Do it tastefully, of course. You don't need to be mean. What are you curious about? What are things you know a lot about? So what was your career before entering crypto, and can you connect it to crypto? And then, of course, there's the aesthetic of it. So what is your tone of voice and unique stylization of your content? A good example of this is Louis. I think he did like a presentation. I think I saw some screenshots, but he has extremely beautiful video production and color grading. So there's 2 ways to think about it. There's like the packaging of how you portray yourself, and then there's the substance, so what's inside that package. And the 2 go hand in hand. On brand building, so it takes consistency plus time. What I mean by this is maybe you have one post that does amazing, but you need to do it repeatedly to actually see those numbers go up. See what works and double down, and repeat this over and over again, because what works today might not work next year. I'll give you an example. When I first started making content, a lot of it was around crypto marketing. And back then, there wasn't as many crypto marketers making content, which was what helped me grow more quickly. And now there's more and more, so it's a bit more diluted. And maybe it's more difficult of a category or vertical to grow in. It's not just about the content, it's also about the format. So we've moved from Twitter Spaces to live streams. So now people are making short form video or really well edited videos. And these things will constantly change. And they change based on how many other people are doing them. So that's another thing, starting trends versus following them. I think it's really important to tap into what you're curious about or new features and be the first person to do it versus seeing someone else do it and following them. Sometimes following trends will help you get reach, but just make sure you don't get into the habit of waiting for something to pop up on your timeline and doing that, because then you're actually restricting yourself from being the person that starts these trends. And starting the trend can be, for example, I was talking about crypto cards. I don't know, time flies so fast in crypto, but I started making posts about crypto cards maybe 3 months ago, and now I'm seeing more and more and more. Or when video started becoming a thing on X, Hype as an agency, we moved from the Twitter Spaces to live streams. So just be that person to start trends, whether it's exploring a new meta in crypto, exploring a new product, or testing a new feature on that channel. So there's also learning in public and teaching in public. The first one, learning in public, creates relatability and authenticity. Teaching in public creates domain expertise. So it's good to have a combination of both, just because you want those 3 pillars to be covered. And it also taps into different audiences. Teaching in public allows you to attract people that are maybe more established or senior, and it creates this aura of credibility. Learning in public shows humility. It shows the more human side of you, and it attracts an audience of maybe people who are just entering the space. So I think it's really important to combine both of these together. Make yourself visible on timelines with your content. And I know that's like easier said than done. So another way to think about it is you can use engagement and referrals. So you can engage with these brands and the people that work at these brands themselves. You can also build your own little cohorts and friends to tag you whenever people are putting a pitch out for content creators or people they should work with. But you need to find ways to make yourself visible on timelines. Having amazing content is one way to do it, but there are other ways you can gamify the algorithm to do that. So just think about, if my end goal is to be visible to this person, reverse engineer how to do that. When we look for creators for brands, we reach out to them. I'm highlighting this because, sometimes I get DMs of like, hey, I'm a KOL, can I work with you? And the chances are we're going to work with the KOLs that we admire and we think are a good fit for the brand, and we're going to reach out to them. So it's really important to set up your brand and profile to where you attract brands to work with you versus just cold DMing them. Cold DMing could work. I'm not saying don't do it. If you do it, make sure that your content reflects what you believe would help them hit that funnel and their goals. But if you are able to build your brand and create content that attracts them, that's going to be your best bet.
We have two questions, Emily, if you want to answer. One is, does one contradict the other? Do you lose domain expertise by learning publicly?
I don't think you lose domain expertise. Like, I'm learning in public all the time, because domain expertise is expertise in a specific domain, and maybe you have multiple domains. But for example, there was a point in time where I was really interested in energy, because it's like, oh, wow, we have this, like, we're entering the AI age and we need so much compute to power that, let alone data. And we need all of this energy to power this compute. And I just got really curious and went down the rabbit hole. And it's like, okay, let me bring on this person that knows a lot about energy. Let me bring on this person that has actually built batteries. And it's like, okay, let's just live stream it so everyone can learn about it. The thing is, like, batteries and energy is not my domain expertise at all. So I don't think it contradicts crypto marketing.
Another question, which was, should we take a deal with a crypto casino and have it in the links, or does this destroy my authenticity as a creator?
I mean, I think this is a soul searching question with yourself, because it's like, what is the crypto casino? Is this a product you stand by and believe in? I think that's between you and God and yourself.
All right. Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome. So yeah, this is actually my last slide. Focus on building an audience that trusts you, and the brands will come. That's it.
Amazing. Well, love this. Let's go into some of the other questions. I know folks have a few others as well, so I will wait for those. Another one. So are there any big no-nos in terms of when you are considering who to work with? What are some of the red flags that, that can sometimes be the decision or deciding factor when it comes to working or not working with the creator?
Like, from a brand perspective or from a creator working with
from a brand perspective.
Like red flags for a brand working with creators. I mean, it would be the opposite of what I'm recommending here. If it's like someone that is just constantly shilling brands or inauthentic or has a really small reach, really small following, and won't move the needle, then this person isn't likely going to get outreach to for brand campaigns.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I see a couple more questions coming in. I see people typing. Cool. So I'll wait for those. Yeah, this is fascinating. I think especially like the breakdown. I see some tweets being featured.
I'm curious your take as well. How is this compared to the other presentations? Because yeah, I told Michelle before we started, I'm not sure if this will be redundant since it seems like you've had an all-star lineup of people. And I haven't seen it.
Incredible. I think what's been probably the most helpful is like the category breakdown of what each category and vertical looks at and is looking for, because I think that is absolutely like a big unlock for a lot of the offerings that I think each creator is thinking about. Like this in particular, like that is the gold slide. Of course, like this whole presentation has been super helpful too. And I think we're probably going to see tweets obviously all across the day, like as the day goes on, because I know I see a lot of breakdowns after every session, but I think this in particular, because One thing that each creators has been working on is their dream list of ecosystems that they want to work with. And I think this actually helps unlock what they can offer, in particular, just understanding just the way that you've broken it down. I think, and even the whole flow, there's a lot of, there's so many gems here. So this has been super, super helpful. Yeah. And I see a reply in the group saying, this has been the best presentation so far. Emily is the GOAT. So
Wow.
Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that. Emily, I think another thing is anything that you think is very cool when it comes to, so a couple of other things. When you work with a creator or as an agency, when you recommend creators to certain brands or to partners, what is trust building for you? Is there anything that kind of instills more confidence? And if yes, what are some of the different aspects, if you can share?
Yeah, so metrics we're looking at are what is their reach, what is their comments, and the quality of comments. So we would look at signals like Kaito to understand their smart followers, because the vanity metrics can be gamified as well. And if we're also in later stages talking to KOLs or content creators, we would look at other brands they've worked with and see if there was anything tied to performance or tracking. Usually if there's like an affiliate link or referral link, then that is trackable, and sometimes it's not. But there are other signals we would look at. But like before even talking to a creator, you typically have a good awareness just looking at their X profile based on the comments.
I love that. And yes, I think things can be gamified, but like looking at any tweet, you can probably tell like the quality of who their network probably is. And I think it's easy to sometimes see when someone has bought it, their profile as well. So that's very apparent a lot of times. And I think going into the other part of it, which is the consistency aspect, does that make a difference? And do you also use Cookie or other InfoFi platforms as well when you're thinking about the metrics or the quality side?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is so important because even like as someone that has quote unquote built a brand or built some like digital presence, it took multiple posts to get reach and multiple touch points of visibility with key players in the space to even get them to follow me. And that takes time, and that takes consistency of posting. So really the breakdown of this is posting consistently in a way that reflects your domain expertise, your credibility, and doing it over and over and over again is what builds trust. Do we use other tools like Cookie? Yes, there's a suite of tools that we would use. There's Cookie, there's Kaito, there's also just looking at their X natively, there's Twitter Score, IO, that one's free. So there are things that we would look at.
Incredible. In another question I brought it up as a tweet, would you trust to work with a creator with zero proof of work, but interested in working with you intentionally, a creator that's just starting out?
I'll be completely honest. At least from an agency perspective, no, because like, our job as an agency, at least, is we want our clients to be happy. So what we're doing is we're trying to match our clients and these brands directly to their audience. So typically a creator that is just starting out doesn't have an audience. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, but you might need to build up a relationship with the brand directly versus me, like someone coming from an agency that is trying to find the best match for our clients. We're going to go for people that have established their brand. And the only reason for that is because for us to keep our clients happy is to show some performance. And to show performance is to make sure that their user base is growing, their KPIs are growing. And when we're looking at creators as a marketing strategy, we're looking at creators that can help drive that.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think this kind of goes back to something we had covered in one of the past sessions, which is working is, I guess, not charity. It's about decisions. And every decision maker in every project has to justify budgets and why they're being given out, who they're working with. And so this is why the angling and positioning of when you're applying for grants, I think the value of how that project gets closer to their goals and their success metrics is so important, because if you're not doing the framing for them, no one's going to do that homework. And when you're working with hundreds of people who want to, again, when you have like hundreds of people in your inbound, right? How do you pick the winners? I think that's always a question and time optimization is absolutely a part of it, but framing that and making the reviewer's job easier and their life easier is a big part of it. Because there's a lot of times where projects think, or creators, they'll think like it's personal that they weren't chosen, but it has nothing to do with them. It's really just what they have put out and what they're sharing. And I think that sometimes is it's like you're just comparing to people who've done that better. And that can sometimes be the deciding factor here.
Yeah, agreed. I also want to call out one sentence in that question. They mentioned interested in working with you intentionally. I feel like that's a bit fluffy of a word, but the reason I want to pull that out is because the word intentional, when we're matching creators with brands, the intentionality shows through in the fact that they've already built their brand, and it shows through in the content they've made. So that intentionality or that energy, I would recommend putting it into the content and building your brand to then attract those brands that you want to work with.
I love that. And just calling out the fluff part too, because there's intention in everything. What that intention is a different story. We got we got a few more questions. Okay, so this one's from Paloma. Oh, actually, no, there's an earlier one. So let me get to the previous one, then I'll get to the next one. This one's from Victorin. What if a creator with less than 2,000 followers has actively written content and articles that onboard and help people to learn about an ecosystem? Would they be counted as a qualified creator to work with? If they don't have thousands of followers, they have less than 2,000, but they have quality content that is, I suppose, effective in some way.
Okay, so it sounds like the stats are 2,000 followers, written articles about onboarding the ecosystems, and the question is around, do I need millions or thousands of followers? Here's the thing, you don't actually need hundreds of thousands of followers. Yes, that helps. It can also be a counter signal. For example, there's a few crypto brands that have like 300K plus followers. And if you look at the reach and engagement, it's really low. Now, quality content is a key. Now, if you're self-proclaiming you have quality content, you got to keep in mind that's subjective. But if you genuinely have quality content in the sense that it attracts high signal people in the industry and people that will ultimately, your audience are people that would be users for this potential ecosystem, then the answer is yes, that makes you a qualified creator. So I would remove kind of the follower count. Yes, it does. It is one signal, but it's not the only signal. It's a combination, right? It's a combination of follower count, reach, quality, and hopefully this whole presentation breaks down how do you get there. But it really comes down to, is your audience, so let's go back to this slide. Is your audience who the brand is trying to target? Because when a brand is working with you, you're lending your trust that you've built with your audience to that brand. So it really just comes down to this sorry, I made like this smile. I was asking Google for like, what's a cute smiley face? And this is just like an HTML symbol.
I love it though. But speaking about positioning your own brand, let me get to the question with Paloma. So I love that Emily shared how to land brand opportunities, but how do you keep them how do you keep the opportunities and how do you keep them happy? How do you have recurring partnerships and can also leverage the partnerships and opportunities you have now to get bigger or better ones in the future, considering that not everything is in your control? Or put another way, when you think of some of the best partnerships or working relationships you've had with creators, what are some of the things they did right in terms of their actions and content and results? And so, this is a question, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like on an operational standpoint, strong communication, making sure you follow guidelines if the project has any, those would be key. And then also fulfilling the duties. So if there's like an actual creator brief on like, this is the number of content pieces that you're signing up for, just making sure you fulfill those things. When it comes to how do you retain that brand, how do you use this content to get more brand deals? Two things. So if you've built a brand to a point where you're attracting brand deals, that likely means that you've already established your tone of voice, your domain expertise, and most brands are just going to give you creative freedom because they trust how you know to speak to your audience. And it is up to you to create content that is compelling enough to drive users that don't seem like a direct shill or a direct advertisement, right? So it goes back to this trust piece of how, Most people trust influencers more than celebrities, because with celebrities, we know like, oh, they're just getting paid and they don't care. It's not a real recommendation. So when you think about this in crypto content creation terms, it's how do you portray this brand in an insightful or experiential way that shows your domain expertise and your authenticity. Now, how do you use this first brand deal to capture more? Make sure you measure the results. Make sure you are tracking things, because you can use that with future brands that come to you, and you can say, oh, for XYZ brand, I was able to achieve this.
Absolutely. And I think from the Oct Insider, at least, because I know Paloma, you asked my perspective on this too. There's a couple of things I look for. One, I love good communication, proactiveness. Like, having worked with so many creators at this point, there absolutely have been some projects who get the first part of a grant, or like a small percent. So we switched to milestone payments, but they receive a grant. Receiving means they got the confirmation like month 1. And then month 6 is when they come back saying, hey, by the way, we got this done now, so can we have the payment? And it's like, that is so not efficient. That is not the timeline that we agreed to. And it makes no sense that you would come back 6 to 8 months later, even, or a year later, to be like, hey, we got this done. It just absolutely have had those instances. I love when projects are proactive and consistently share the effectiveness. And then when something's doing well, I think that's the most important part, the actual performance of whatever they're creating. Because if it's doing well, we will see the results, and we're tracking those anyway. And we see the effects of it. And that is really great. And then I think to continue working, it's like, what's a new approach to working with us? Like, what are you bringing forward? Does it have effort? Is there something new and innovative, or a different angle that you're bringing in? I think most times projects come back to get funding, but don't have a clear idea of how they're going to do that. And then they sort of expect us to do that work for them, and asking us like, what should we do? And it's like, that's such a lazy approach. I think the best creators who we've worked with or given funding to, again, will come back with a strong approach of, this is what worked. This is what I think you're doing that's cool or interesting. And this is what I think is going to make this more effective in terms of accessibility or awareness. And that is always appreciated. So then it becomes an easier yes to be like, they've justified the results. We have the reports and data, and it makes sense to give them funding, even if it's a little bit more, because, this is a creator we can trust and whose work we can actually depend on. So that's my 2 cents on this. I also see Nick saying, also, if this is public, could you share the source for the stats and what shapes audience perception of influencers?
Yes. Maybe I'll send the link to you to the article, and then you can drop it in the Telegram group.
Absolutely. I will do that. And then another question that came up from Nick as well is, with more traditional ad tools like live streams and entering Web3, how does Emily view the future potential of paid ads for DeFi brands?
Real quick before I answer this one, I just want to call out that, I found this survey really interesting. But again, these numbers may not equate to crypto Twitter, because the audience and people in crypto Twitter is very different than the general whole. I also don't know the methodology of who they surveyed. I think surveys are funny because, like, I personally have never been surveyed ever in my life, but then I'll read surveys that I'm like, wait, I was like a target demographic. Why didn't anyone ask me? So I don't know like the sample size or anything, but I think it is what it reflects is that people do care about following others that are authentic and relatable. And even if these numbers are wrong or would not relate to crypto Twitter, I do believe that when I look at this, I'm like, okay, this makes sense for crypto Twitter content creators. This one
I think
as well.
It does. But I mean, even if you go back to the previous one, right? Like, I think if you think about how you're making a decision, think about what are your different touch points. If you hear people talk about it enough times, you will most likely give it a shot. And we used to have this methodology we'd call like the 3 touch point, takes 3 touch points to make a sale. Or to take an action where people actually spend on something or take that bigger action. And it has to be 3 different touch points. So if they're hearing from a friend or they're seeing it online and then they see an ad, the 3rd time the ad will be effective. And so that was a Web 2 thing, but I think it does pull over to Web 3 as well in so many ways, because if you're circles and then you're seeing the conversations online, there are going to be ways that you will actually think, maybe I should give this a shot and think about it. And then no one wants to be sold too much. And this is why I actually prefer folks who've got a smaller audience or who I feel are more effective, because they're putting in more effort and you can sort of see the difference versus like when you have like a very big audience. And then if you're shilling something else, there's just no trust there.
Agreed. I think the last question was from Nick as well on, with more traditional ad tools like live streams entering Web3, how do I view the future potential of paid ads for DeFi brands?
Yeah.
I think the first distinction here to make is live streams are not an ad tool or traditional ad tool. And traditional ad tools have always existed, and we have used them for crypto projects. So in 2021, we put about 3 to 4 million for traditional paid ads. That includes Google SEM, paid social across Meta, that's Facebook and Instagram. We ran on Brave browser, CoinGecko. So we did a lot of native ads as well. When it comes to DeFi brands, I'm assuming you mean DeFi protocols, or if I just assume like, okay, like a DeFi protocol where you bridge over, you swap, maybe stake, or maybe it's like there's different vaults that you can put your money in, or maybe you LP. Anything with on-chain activity, there are on-chain targeting platforms now where it's using like wallet data, or the placement is a wallet itself. So yeah, the way I view these things is it's the same as traditional marketing and marketing fundamentals of how do we reach our audience? And if this medium of paid ads or this paid ads platform helps because of the placement, because of the targeting options, because our users are there, then go for it. But yeah, that's how I would answer that one.
Incredible. And I'm seeing someone say 650. Yeah, we crossed 650 and collectively over 1,088 views. So I'd say this is well done on
Nice.
both our ends. And we started seeing a lot of people just joining in from the get-go. Like I think I posted a screenshot 12 minutes in, and we'd crossed 400. So I think this was well done. Yay to everyone who joined in. And then I think one final question here would be around TikTok. So you mentioned you're looking to work with TikTok creators. Have you found, are brands now starting to experiment with TikTok creators and content? Are you seeing a shift there in terms of platform growth as well?
Yeah, that's actually our fastest growing service line right now. So a lot of my day to day is building that department with Nikki, our head of short form video. And the reason for this is because I think we're now entering this crypto app and neobank phase where the infra has been built and built and built for many years. And now we're getting to kind of the bottom of the stack or top of the stack. And yeah, we definitely are constantly looking for creators. We're doing a lot of outreach. We're also trying to attract creators. And if you are a TikTok influencer where you have some type of audience, and or you're just really great at creating short form video content and you want to be like a UGC creator, let us know because we're always looking for more.
Another question from Yushiro is Hype only looking for English speaking creators?
English for sure, prioritize and preferred. It also, like TikTok, the way it works is it's very geo-based. So typically when we're working with new companies and products, we're targeting US. The way the TikTok algorithm works is wherever you post in the world is you get your content gets shown to that audience first. And of course it can trickle out. So if you're posting in the US, you might get like, I don't know, 80% US and then maybe 20% from other English speaking countries like Canada, UK. So yeah, English is preferred, but there are edge cases where maybe we need some other niche location. Just let us know if English is not your native language or speaking language, but that is preferred.
And then we have two more questions. This is interesting, and this is one that I have so many opinions on, but how about AI generated short videos?
I think when it first came out, it was hot. Like people were like, oh, this is so cool. And now it's the sentiment is so bad. I've seen a few on TikTok and even in Instagram, the comments are like, AI is going to mess up. AI is going to ruin social, or I hate that this is AI. So I think it's just, it reflects a few things. One of them being that trend cycles are getting smaller and smaller since there's just an overabundance of information. And what might have been really trendy at one point in time can completely fall off and die off. And maybe it will come back again if the latency or like the fidelity of these AI videos get to a point where you can't even tell it's AI.
Yeah, I feel like I've actually become a victim to that because I saw this video and my husband made so much fun of me, but I was with Jake Paul. And he was clearly wearing a Pakistani outfit and speaking in Punjabi. And that should have been the tell that he does not speak Punjabi. There's no reason but it just looked so real. And I showed it to him and he's like, are you really believing this? So I felt like I had a big boomer moment when that happened. And then we have another question. No, not this one. What is the qualification to be a part of the TikTok content creators? I'm assuming it's having a good audience, an effective audience, right, Emily?
Yeah. There's two types of creators we're looking for. So one, maybe you have no audience, but you just know you're just a good creator in the sense of you know hooks, angles, and you also operationally are professional and communicate well. Kind of the things that you pointed on, Michelle. The other one is you're a proper like TikTok influencer. You have an audience, and you would be part of our, I guess, creator circle of if we have the right brand to tap into your audience, we might reach out to you.
Amazing. I have 2 more questions from our cohort, and I'll read them out because they're in the creator group that we have. Any noteworthy distinctions brands have with working with singular creators versus small marketing studios or agencies?
Can you repeat the question? Like the difference between a single creator versus an agency?
Yeah, is there any preference that brands have in one versus the other, I'm assuming? Is that the question, Ibrahim? I will wait for him to answer. In the meantime, we can answer, there's another question too. On the topic of positioning your own brand, can you ask Emily if a creator that has amassed an audience more around travel, but is not really Web3 or crypto native, like, or has not been creating crypto content, how can a creator like that reposition themselves to their audience to be able to partner with brands?
Okay, so if you wanted to work with crypto brands and you're currently a travel influencer, this is where if you were able to come with the positioning yourself, it would be a lot more appealing to a brand. So immediately off the top of my head, it's like there's so many crypto payment cards coming out now or are already out. Maybe some have lounge access or you can earn travel points with them. And maybe you reach out to them and give them a proposal of like, hey, I built up this audience of X thousand followers and a lot of my content is about travel, but I also work in crypto. I think showing off your card or your app because you can earn points for travel would make a lot of sense. That's going to be a way bigger sell than us as an agency or the brand having to jump through the hoops and be like, oh, we want to target Web2 users. And our card has this feature that allows people to access airport lounges. Maybe we contact all of these travel influencers. So I guess my answer here is number one, how can you connect those dots yourself? Because you connecting those dots also shows to the brand that you're going to come up with a killer angle and you know the angles that will help convert. And it also just saves the brand time.
I love this answer. And yeah, like the crypto cards with the travel content, just immediately, it's a perfect mix. All right, Ibrahim. So Ibrahim has clarified that, yes, that was his question. Is there a preference of working with creators versus small marketing studios or agencies?
I mean, those are two completely different goals, right? So like a marketing agency, there's also different types of marketing agencies. We're full service, meaning that Hype, we're doing multiple marketing pillars, whether that is omni-channel, we do developer marketing, social media, community, PR, KOLs, paid marketing. So we're looking full stack of like, how do we reach these objectives? Where finding a singular creator or finding multiple creators is looking at a singular funnel and being like, okay, we want to get more people to use this, to use our DApp, and we should contact this creator to help drive some of that. It's just two completely different goals and functions. So I don't think you can compare them.
He also wrote to add on, to clarify, he meant difference for brands between working with a single creator that works on their own content versus a band of creators that is scaled to work as an agency. So sometimes creators form collectives or groups and propose, send proposals as a group versus as individuals. And so is there a preference when you're on the deciding side between which one is more valuable or which one could be better?
I think the word valuable is a call out there. So it's never been down to, oh, do we choose this one creator versus this collective group or club of creators? It really comes down to ROI. So if this one creator has more pull than this group and it's a lower cost, obviously we're going to go with that one creator. But if it makes more sense to go with the collective, and we project that the CPA or cost per acquisition is going to be lower, even if they're more expensive, then we'll go with that. So it's not a question of 1 versus 10 or 5, but what is going to bring the most value.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And the cost difference is another one, just in terms of when you're comparing.
Right.
Because if it is the same cost and you're getting way more reach with the same exact cost and working with a collective, that kind of feels like it might be more effective versus a creator who has, I think if you're going to combine numbers, then that's probably one of the approaches here. All right, sweet. So we have 2 minutes left. But again, Emily, thank you so much for this incredible session. I think we crossed our metrics and numbers, and we've been seeing engagement throughout. I see everyone who's been replying to these tweets, and it feels like there's a whole conversation going on in the replies with that.
What number do you see in live? I can't see it, but what do you see?
Collectively, 1,230 views, 486 views from your side, and then we've got 746 on our side.
Are you happy that we hit your?
I'm very happy, and I think for every project to, for every creator to get value, I think that's also the most important thing. Like the views, and of course, it's cool to get the metrics and the numbers, but the fact that this has been such tangible advice and that it's helping change perspectives, and it's going to be effective, and it actually influences people to, get paid, work with brands, like level up. I think that's the most important part. I got a final question here from Nick asking, can I join the creator group? Nick, this is part of our Octane Creator program. So this is a cohort based program where we had applications that we chose creators from, and then we have it's been a very intense program where you have to show up, you got to take notes, you got to do the work of creating the content and leveling it up. It's not passive, it's very active, doing the work to grow as a creator. We will run 2 different cohorts next year again, maybe 3, we will see. But we're absolutely going to do that, and we'll have all of the information up online on our Twitter when we have dates for the next cohort. Just seeing a bunch of thank yous, and what a time we've had, and thank you for the great presentation. Yes, just a lot of thank yous coming in. So again, Emily, thank you so much for this. We are going to upload this, if you're okay with it, Emily, on our YouTube channel for anyone who wants to watch it later. And of course, it'll be on our Twitter, so you can do that. Please go give Emily a follow and give Hype a follow. They do really great work. We have some fun events coming up with them as well, one at Dev Connect in a few weeks. And for everything else Octane related, just follow our Twitter account. You will be the first to understand what's going on in the Octane world if you do that.
Thanks so much for having me, Michelle, and to everyone for watching.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and we'll see you in the next stream. Have a good one.